Good day everyone. Today we are going to discuss about video or cinema culture. But before that, let's have the learning objectives for this lesson. Number 1, define cinema or video culture. Number 2, know the history and differentiate the past and the current condition of cinema. Number 3, contextualize cinema or video culture. So now, let us proceed to our discussion. So first, let us define what is cinema. So cinema is considered to be the most popular of cultural practices, reflecting a plethora of social, economic, and cultural phenomena in modern societies. So cinema comes from a French word, cinematography, meaning motion picture. Now, let us know the history of cinema in the Philippines. During the last decade of the 19th century, in 1896, a Spaniard by the name of Perchera prepared to launch his first movie show in Manila at Christmas time. The venue was to be at Salon de Perchera, which he established 9 months earlier as the phonograph parlor on the ground floor of the Casino Español at Calle Perez of the Escolta, but for some reasons still unknown to this writing. Perchera failed to make his presentation despite several published announcements to this effect. The show kept being postponed until the new year. And finally, on January 1, 1897, the first four movies, namely Man with a Hat, Scene from a Japanese Dance, The Boxers, The Place à l'Opera, were shown via 60mm Gaumont Chrono photograph projector at the Salon de Perchera at number 12 Escolta, Manila. In 1937, the first Filipino movie to achieve international plaudit was Zamboanga, a picture starred in by Fernando Po and Rosa del Rosario. Hollywood director Frank Capra praised the film as the most exciting and beautiful picture of native life he had ever seen. Manuel Conde's Genghis Khan, released in 1950, was a rave at the Venice Film Festival in 1952 and Dove in French. It was shown in Paris in 1954. Inspired by the Conde's picture, Hollywood remade Genghis Khan with John Wayne as its lead actor. The people who had seen both pictures adjudged that the latter was incomparable to the former in terms of authenticity. Undoubtedly, the 5th and the 6th decades were the golden age of Philippine cinema, with subsequent films making a mark in the overseas scene. Kalderong Pilak, Ifugao, Anak Dalita, Badyaw, Anak ng Dagat, to name just a few, swept awards at the Cambodian, Asia, and Berlin Films Festivals. Even at the annual Asian Film Festival, with a dozen countries taking turns in hosting the major film fest, now known as the Asia Pacific Film Festival, with 18 countries. So there was a tacit acceptance that the Philippine cinema was at that time the undisputed leader in the continent's film scene. Now, let us give example of cinema during those time. So the first picture took place at Escolta, Manila on January 1, 1897. So dito pinalabas yung first film screening in the Philippines. So yung mga movies or yung films na ipinilalabas ay may... So again, the title of the films that were shown in this place, or specifically in Escolta, Manila, were The Boxers, The Man with the Hat, A Scene from a Japanese Dance, and the Place El Opera. So the next picture on the same year, 1897, so this was the Lumiere cinematograph. So this was first introduced in the Philippines by a Spanish soldier named Anton Ramos. So ang Lumiere cinematograph po ay ito yung ginagamit nila to record films or videos before. Yan. In the next picture, the third picture, during the 1900s, so, ayan, makikita na po natin yung mga movie houses that were built not only in Manila but also in the provinces na merong electricity. So, sinasabi na among the ASEAN countries, isa ang Pilipinas sa meron pang kumbaga maipagmamalaking mga movie houses na ginawa noon at makikita pa rin hanggang ngayon. So, next, 1919, ayan. So, this was Jose Nepomuceno. So, he was the first Filipino na nakapag-produce ng film sa Pilipinas na pinamagatang Dalagang Bukid. And because of this, he was entitled as the father of Philippine cinema. And during the 1930s, the film began to be recognized as another medium of art. And on the year 1940s, kung makikita po natin, ang focus ng film or ang focus ng theme ng mga film during those years or during this era was focused on war and heroism. And the year 1950s was marked as the first golden age of Philippine cinema. Ayan, yung nakikita po nating picture dyan, it was the film of Genghis Khan. So, during those years, 1950s, Philippines became second to Japan in terms of the numbers of film production per year. So, during those years po, ang Pilipinas ay nakakapag-produce ng 350 films per year. And on 1960s, new genres were introduced. So, Western genre, musical, action, soft porns, and others. And on the year 1970s, so this was marked as the second golden era of Philippine cinema. So, talamak ang propaganda films because during these years ay kapanahunan ng pamumuno ni dating President Ferdinand Marcos. So, talamak ang propaganda films dahil binaband ng government ang paglalabas or talagang sinusuri nila yung mga films na nilalabas, especially hindi nila ito ipinapalabas kung ito ay tumutulugsa sa administrasyong Marcos. And on 1980s, so in this era, parang sinasabi na ito daw yung pinaka-peak or yung pinakatuktok ng tinatawag na second golden age ng Philippine cinema dahil nakapag-create ng mga notable films during this era. So, kung kilala nyo yung nasa picture na hanggang ngayon, I think ay kilala pa rin ng kahit sinong kabataan at naaalala pa rin ang movie na to kahit hindi ka pa pinanganak nun, dahil napapanood naman ito. So, this was entitled Himala. Ayan. At ang main character sa film na ito is si Nora Honor. Ayan, 'di ba? Ayan, 'di ba she was famous of her line, "Walang himala." And the other notable films during this era was Burlesque Queen, Tatlong Taong Walang Diyos at Tinimbang Ka Ngunit Kulang. And on the year 1990s, ayan, nakakapag-produce na ng mga low quality or hastily made films dahil mataas na ang production cost at ang taxes na binabayaran. Nagkakaroon na rin ng piracy at censorship. Kaya kung mapapansin natin, kahit hindi naman ganun kalabo yung TV natin, kung yung film na pinapanood natin noon ay malabo. Ayan, during those years, 1990s, kung naabutan nyo yung Shake, Rattle, and Roll, Wanted Perfect, ayan yung mga yan. So, those are examples of low quality films. At pagdating ng taong 2000, ayan, medyo gumanda-ganda na yung quality ng film na napapanood natin. Dahil nga, sa panahong ito na yung kapanahunan ng digital age. Ayan, so nagamit na, so marami ng digital na nagamit or mga technological materials or tools na ginagamit para sa paggawa ng film or ng videos. And now, let us proceed to the current situation of our cinema. So, since the onset of COVID-19, the Philippine film industry has faced incredible drawbacks, from the continued closure of cinemas, which affected the production of local films, to the challenges plaguing the safe conduct of production activities and on-site events. So this has undeniably put a damper on the spirits of our stakeholders. But the world's cinema is not dead, and neither is Philippine cinema. So this is what we've been seeing in how our films and filmmakers are continuing to make waves locally and internationally, opening many doors to the possible collaborations and showcase of our content outside of the country. As we celebrate the first Philippine Industry Month, we are reminded of the immense potential of our Filipino producers, filmmakers, and artists to overcome the obstacles in front of them and pave the way to a new era of Philippine cinema. So, kung mapapansin natin ngayon, halos wala na ring cinema ay wala na ring mga films na naiproproduce dahil isa rin sila sa mga naapektuhan ng pandemya dahil halos lahat naman ng sektor ay apektado nitong pandemic na ating nararanasan ngayon. So, film and the cinema were not excluded, but they are making their best. Ayan, diba? Hindi sila sumusuko para maipakita yung galing ng mga Pilipino sa paggawa ng film. And now, to contextualize the video or cinema culture as a medium of entertainment. So, di ba? We were entertained by films. Ayan, kapag gusto nating magpahinga, mag-relax, sometimes ito yung ginagawa nating pantakas or pamparelieve. Ayan, di ba? Nanonood tayo. Next is cinema culture is an indicator of an economic development. Ayan, so we can be considered na tumataas ang ekonomiya sa larangan ng cinema. Ayan, kaya nagiging indicator din ito kapag marami tayong i-produce na film dahil maaari itong ma-adapt ng ibang country. Ayan, yung mga remake na ginagawa nila, 'di ba? Yan, indicator na tumataas ang ekonomiya ng bansa dahil sa mga sinema na naiproproduce. And last but not the least, cinema culture as information that shows other culture. Diba? Dahil sa kakapanood natin ng mga films, nalalaman natin yung iba't ibang kultura ng iba't ibang lugar or ng iba't ibang bansa, nagiging aware tayo. Kaya naman kapag may pagkakataon or kapag nabigyan tayo ng chance or opportunity na makapunta sa kanilang lugar or sa ibang bansa, alam na natin kung ano yung mga kulturang kanilang ginagawa or pinaniniwalaan na kailangan nating i-observe din or i-adapt din para makita nila na we are respecting their cultures and beliefs. So, according to a writer and the director, the film industry remains steadfast. So, like an old soldier, it may fade for a while, but it shall never die. So, that would be all, and thank you for listening, and I hope you've learned something. Cinema is considered to be the most popular of cultural practices reflecting a plethora of social, economic, and cultural phenomena in modern societies. Cinema is from the French cinematograph, which come in part from the Greek kinema, meaning movement. So, cinema is really just another word meaning moving picture. It also has come to mean more generally the process of filmmaking and also the building where films are shown. The prime purpose of cinema is to serve social cause, not entertainment. The basic purpose of a film festival is to evolve cinema and not merely attract tourists. It is of course desirable if a film festival becomes catalyst to enhance cinema tourism. Along with the literacy elements such as plot, setting, characterization, structure, and theme, which make up the text or screenplay, there are many different film techniques used to tell the story or narrative. Attention is paid to sound, music, lighting, camera, angles, and editing. But characters are the most important part of storytelling. They are the life of a film. When you watch a film, you need to like some of the characters in the film. You should feel like you can relate to those characters. They can help the economy grow, inspire individuals, and expand our basic knowledge of the world around us. Movies can also create violence and bad habits, can make people greedier, and can send a bad message to the public. The effects that films have on society are numerous and twofold.
What is video? Video is an electronic medium for the recording, copying, playback, broadcasting, and display of moving visual media. Video was first developed for mechanical television systems, which were quickly replaced by cathode ray tube systems, which were later replaced by flat panel displays of several types. Video is a technology that captures moving images electronically. Those moving images are really just a series of still images that change so fast that it looks like the image is moving. The first video camera was invented in the early 1900s by a man named John Logie Baird. Obviously, it took a while for it to catch on. The real game-changing video stuff was done by the 1970s when JVC launched the iconic video home system. Soon, video became widespread all over the world. The first video recording, or more accurately, the oldest surviving film in existence, was the Round Hay Garden scene. The silent short that's only about 2 seconds in length was filmed at the Whiteley family house in Oakwood Grange Road, Great Britain in 1888.
And here are the 8 types of videos. First is the live action videos. Live action video is a recording of either still or moving objects. It's about real people in the real locations rather than creating things digitally. They can be funny or informative, entertaining or educational. The second is animation. Animation is a video style made from many still images. When images are played together one after another, they give illusion of movement. This style is great for depicting something that can't be found in real world. There are 3 animation styles: 2D, 3D, and stop motion. 2D animation is flat like a comic or a cartoon. 3D animation has dimension and depth, like most modern animated films and video games. Stop motion animation is built by capturing individual frames of real-world objects, like a claymation movie. 3 is whiteboard videos. Whiteboard animation tells a creative story with pictures drawn on a whiteboard by artists who record their artistic process, whether it's basic stick figures or more complicated constructs. 4 is motion graphic videos. Motion graphics videos are a style of animation that uses text and shapes to communicate. But these types of video don't usually tell a story. These videos typically add music, sound, and voiceover to convey simple information with energy and power. And the 5th is typography videos. Moving text or kinetic typography is an animation technique that blends movement and words to express ideas. Some people respond to visuals and some respond to written word. Kinetic typography is a great way to grab the attention of both. The 6th is screencast videos. A screencast or screen capture is a digital recording of a computer screen, often containing voice-over narration. 7 is live streaming videos. Live streaming broadcasts live video straight to your viewers on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or on your own website. This one's all about social media. Live streaming is excellent when you want to bring your audience into a current and intimate experience. And the last is photo montage. Photo montages or slideshows combine photos with music and voiceover to tell a story, and usually conjure up deep emotions. These are great to recap events, especially milestones like anniversaries, weddings, and birthdays.
Good day, classmate. Today, we will discuss the cinema and video, which is the report number 1. But before that, let us meet the reporters: Almira Cabuslay, Jean Canopin, Joy Canopin, and Winsel Q. Carrasco. And here's our objective.
So, the video doesn't simply tell a message. Instead, video displays the meaning. Video is the ultimate show and tell. The successful video cuts through technology, all the while conveying messages as a form of entertainment around the world. So, now we will move on to the top 5 types of videos. The first type of video is educational video. Educational videos are excellent example of teaching and learning concept, as a video uses the primary sense of sight and sound. Using video in education allow concept to be taught more easily and be better than reading off a page. Let me give you example of educational video. The number 1 example of educational video is remote online classroom instruction. The second one is online courses with video lesson. The third one is webinar. The second type of video is promotional video. Promotional video have become exceptionally popular with the convenience of fast wireless internet, powerful mobile devices, and business realizing that they afford and use video with their marketing. This style of videos have adapted quickly to the habits of the modern viewer. Short-length videos, relevant information, engaging style, and available where the viewer will be interested in viewing, and then ideally sharing the video with their social network. Here's some example of the promotional video. Talking head videos, corporate video, testimonial videos, presentational video, explainer video, human resources video, and the last one is unboxing videos. So now, let's move to the third types of videos, which is the production demonstration videos. These are the most simplistic type of videos. Why? Because you can cut and dry information delivered succinctly as possible. Think of a news host deliver current news with a quickly story sound bite and moving into the next story in rapid succession. This video give what on a topic but don't go much deeper, so the why is often left largely explored. I'll give you some example of informational videos. The number 1 example is the television newscast. Next is the interview question and answer videos. The third one is streaming video online news website. The next one is socially shared news snippets. For example, is the Facebook, Twitter, etc. The next one is public service announcements. And now, let's move to the fourth types of videos, the documentary films and videos. Now, let's move to the fourth types of videos, which is the documentary films and videos. The definition of a documentary film is a non-fictional motion picture intended to document some aspect of reality, primarily for the purpose of instruction, education, or maintaining a historical record. But bear in mind, most documentaries are mostly digital now, rather than on celluloid films, but the word film is a throwback to the genre, not to the medium, which is fine. So now I will give you some example of documentary. The first example is poetic documents. The second one is observational documentaries. The next one is reflexive documentaries. The next one is performative documentaries. The next one is expository documentary. And the last one is participatory documentaries. Now, we will move to the last type of videos, which is the entertainment videos. Entertainment videos can vary in scope, genre, and purpose, like videos on Netflix, online movies, YouTube video stars, video clips, and more all fall under the scope of entertainment. I'll give you another example of entertainment videos, like music videos, travel videos, automotive enthusiast videos. The next one is wedding videos, comedy shows, YouTube channel stars, reality shows, movies like Hollywood. The next one is episodic drama shows. The next one is streaming service like the Netflix, Amazon, etc. The next one is solid media on DVD and Blu-ray. These are the example of entertainment media.
And now, let us talk about the history of video making and recording. So, in 1951, Charles Ginsberg led a research team at Ampex Corporation that created one of the first functional videotape recorders, or the VTRs. It is collected live images from television cameras by converting the data into electrical impulses and storing it into magnetic tape. By 1956, VTR technology had been mastered and was widely used in the television businesses. But Ginsberg wasn't finished. He led the Ampex research team in inventing a new machine that could run the tape at a much lower pace due to the fast speed of the recording heads. This enabled the required high-frequency response, and he was called the father of the videocassette recorder. The Ampex sold the first VTRs for the $50,000 in 1956, and the Sony sold the first V-cassette RS, or the VCRs, in 1971. And now, let's go to the first prototype VCRs. It is the first prototype for the videocassette recorder, was created in 1956 by the Ampex company. The large device that Ampex created was new on the market and hardly used by anybody. And the price tag was $50,000 and made it practically unattainable by the average consumer, so the TV network were the main buyers of this product. So, ito yung sinasabi natin kanina na pinangunahan ni Ginsberg ang isang research team ng Ampex Company upang makalikha ng ng kauna-unahang functional video cassette recorder. And then the price tag of it is $50,000, so hindi siya afford ng mga average consumer, and nahihirapan pa rin silang gamitin iyon. Kung kaya naman ang mga TV networks lamang ang mga kanilang mga buyers or the main buyers of their products. And now, let's talk about how Sony created the first reel-to-reel recorder. So, the Sony company took the idea that the Ampex created and began to expand on the technology. In 1963, Sony created the first reel-to-reel recorder. This was innovative, and the technology helped to make the machine less expensive for consumer, but they were still out of reach for the majority of the household. As a result, these machines were generally used by businesses, medical officials, airlines, and education industry. So, pagkatapos makapag-release ng Ampex Company ng first functional video cassette recorder, nagkaroon ng idea ang Sony Company na maglabas rin ng kanilang kauna-unahang reel-to-reel recorder na kung saan mas innovative at mas afford ng mga consumer. Ngunit sa pag-akala nilang mas afford ito ng consumer, hindi pa rin kayang ma-reach ng majority ng household yung price na kanilang binigay. Kung kaya, bilang resulta, ang mga machine na kanilang ginawa o mga video cassette recorder, ang kanilang pangunahing buyers lang din ay ang mga businesses, medical official, airlines, and education industry. Now, let's talk about how the first marketed video cassette recorder made. So, individual would not have access to have a mass marketed video cassette recorder. for 2 more years. So, then in 1965, Sony took their previous reel-to-reel technology and created the CV2000. So, this model was less expensive video cassette recorder that was made specifically to the average consumer to buy for their household use. So, dahil nga sa masyadong mahal ang mga naging video cassette recorder, so napag-isipan ng Sony Company na maggumawa uli ng another product na tinawag nilang CV2000. Itong CV2000 is specifically made for the average consumer. So, para ma-afford ng mga average consumer at magkaroon sila sa kanilang mga bahay. So, the other companies followed the suit of these early VCRs soon had a price tag of approximately 1,000. So, dahil naglabas ang Sony Company ng CV2000 na kung saan mas afford ng mga average consumer, nagsilabasan din yung iba't ibang mga companies na kung saan naglabas din ng mga VCRs or the video cassette recorders na may presyong $1,000. So, malaki yung binaba niya kumpara sa $50,000 na binigay ng Ampex Company o ginawa ng Ampex Company. So, though still expensive for the time period, the competition and technology was beginning to bring the price down. So, nagkaroon ng competition ang iba't ibang mga company para mapababa yung presyo ng video cassette recorder and ma-afford ng mga average consumer. So, the Sony's version had an edge over others. So, meron pa rin naman daw edge ang Sony Company dahil it is capable of recording family events for viewing later. So, nakakapag-record na siya ng mga special events ng mga family na pwede nilang mapanood later. So, this was a popular feature that many consumers were willing to purchase despite of the high price. So, yun yung dahilan kung bakit nagpa-purchase pa rin yung mga tao kahit masyadong mataas yung presyo. In the following years, Sony continued to work on their technology and eventually created the Sony U-Matic in 1970. This was the first commercially marketed video cassette format designed for the consumer to use, and it was capable of recording 90 minutes worth of footage. 2 new machines were created that used this type of video cassette, but they were generally too expensive for average consumer. So, after mag-release ng Sony ng isang video cassette recorder na afford ng mga tao, naglabas din sila ng isa pang video cassette recorder na kung saan tinawag nilang Sony U-Matic in 1970. Ito yung may kakayahan na mag-record ng 90 minutes footage. Samantalang yung Sony U-Matic na ito ay ginamit ng dalawang machine. Kung saan yung dalawang machine na iyon is too expensive para ma-afford ng mga average consumer. So, hindi pa rin siya naging makamasa or naging mas afford ng mga average consumer para magamit sa kanilang mga bahay. Philips patented and released the first household VCR that most resembles the ones that we recognize today. They also created the square cassette that widely used today. The tape on the reels was capable of holding 60 minutes footage. This was one of the only drawbacks that consumer did not enjoy about the video cassette. So, dahil nag-release na ang Sony Company ng video cassette recorder na Sony U-Matic, at ito ay may kakayahan na mag-record ng 90 minutes footage, naglapas din ang Philips patented ng isang video cassette recorder na kung saan kayang mag-hold ng 60 minutes footage. Kaya nga lang, itong 60 minutes footage ay naging disadvantage niya dahil hindi siya masyadong tinangkilik ng masa. Now, let's talk about the Betamax format or the VHS format. In 1975, the digital timer became standard on VCRs, and the tape duration were getting longer and longer. The products began to be mass-produced and marketed to average consumer. This meant that the price was getting more affordable as well. The Japanese and the European electronics company were competing for more of a share in the market, so they were creating better products for the cheaper prices. By the 1980s, there were also 3 major competing standards that use a variety of video cassette and the race was more on consumer. So, noong 1975, dahil mas naging patok na nga sa masa yung may oras or the digital timer kung saan ang usapan ay kung paano naho-hold o kung hanggang saan na kung gaano kahabang oras ang naho-hold ng isang video cassette recorder, mas naging patok iyon noong 1975. So, the product began to be mass-produced and marketed to average consumers. So, dito din nagsimula na mag-create ang iba't ibang company ng mga video cassette recorder na afford ng mga average consumer. So, mas bumababa ang mga presyo. So, yung Japanese and European electronics companies din ay nagkaroon ng mga shares sa iba't ibang company para mas mapababa ang mga presyo ng video cassette recorder. And then noong 1980s, nagkaroon ng 3 major competing standard that use a variety of video cassette. And then the race was more on consumer. So noong 1980, nagkaroon ng competing iba't ibang company tungkol sa video cassette recorder. And then ang race ay tungkol sa kung sino ang kanilang consumer o kung sino yung mas papatukin ng masa. One of the major competitors in the race was the Betamax format. Created in 1975, Betamax almost overtook the VHS format that people began to use throughout the 1980s and 1990s. Video files is still considered the Betamax format to be superior in the VHS format in the picture quality and in technical standard. Unfortunately, for this format, the VHS soon edged them out and they became obsolete soon after. So, isa sa mga naging competitors, no, di ba nagkaroon ng 3 competitors at isa nga doon yung Betamax format na na-create noong 1975. The VHS format began in the USA in 1975. JVC created 2-hour recording capabilities and the competing companies began battling it out for customer. Going back and forth between RCA and Sony, the tape duration reached the 6 hours that is common for video cassette today. So, nagkaroon ng competing tungkol sa haba ng oras na kayang i-hold ng video recorder. So, ang JVC ay nakapag-create ng 2 hours recording capabilities at naging patok siya sa masa. So, pagkatapos ng maraming taon pa din, the tape duration reached the 6 hours that is common for video cassette recorder today. So, from 2 hours, naging 6 hours na siya. The VHS format also gained wider licensing capabilities which helped it edge in its Betamax competitors. They also had automatic recording capabilities as well as the other features that consumer enjoy. So, kanina di ba yung Betamax? So, ngayon naman yung VHS format. So, ang edge ng VHS format sa Betamax format is that the VHS format is kaya mag-hold ng 6 hours na footage, samantalang ang Betamax ay hindi. And they also had the automatic recording capability. So, angat doon ang VHS sa Betamax. Dahil ang VHS ay kayang magkaroon ng automatic recording capabilities and marami pa siyang feature na wala sa Betamax. Today, VCR are almost a thing of the past. While most households still have a VCR, it is difficult to find VHS movies rental at your local video store. The technology has been replaced by the DVD technology. You can even record onto DVDs now rather than just watching them. As a result, VCRs are becoming an antiquated piece of technology that many people continue to hold onto until they transfer their tapes onto a DVD. Trivia. Did you know that the first video recorder was weighted as much as a small car? So, ito yung kauna-unahang na-invento or na-create ng Ampex company. So, ganyan siya kalaki and ganyan siya kabigat.
What is cinema? The word itself derived from the ancient Greek kinema, meaning movement. Historically, it's a shortened version of French cinematography, an invention of 2 brothers, Auguste and Louis Lumière, that combined kinema with other Greek root graphian, meaning to write or record. The recording of movements seems as good a place as any to begin an exploration of the moving image. The cinema seems broad enough to capture the essence of form, whether we use it specifically in reference to that art house film or to refer to the more commonplace product and consumption of movies, TV, streaming series, videos, interactive, gaming, VR, AR, or whatever new technology mediates our experience of moving image. Because ultimately, that's what all of the above have in common, the moving image. Cinema, in that sense, stands at the art form and would not exist without the technology required to capture our imagination. But cinema is such more than an interaction of arts and technology. It is, and maybe more importantly, a powerful medium of communication. Like language itself, cinema is a surrounding and enveloping substance that carries with it what it means to be woman in a specific time and place. It is said, it is mediate or experience of the world, help us make sense of things, and in doing so, often helps shape the world itself. It's why we often find ourselves confronted by some extraordinary events and find the only ways to describe it is, it was like a movie. In fact, more than a century, filmmakers and audience have collaborated on the massive ongoing, largely unconscious social experiment, the development of cinematic language, the fundamental and increasingly complex rule of how the cinema communicates meaning. There is a syntax, a grammar, to cinema that has developed over time. And this rule, as with any language, are interactive, that is, they form and develop through repetition both within and between each generation. As children, we are socialized into a ways of seeing through children's programming, cartoons, and YouTube videos. As adults, we become more sophisticated in our understanding of the rules, able to innovate, recombine, become creative with the language, and every generation or so we are confronted with great leaps forwards in technology that reoriented and often advanced our understanding of how the language works. This emphasis on content inevitably leads to an exploration of power and representation. Who is on scene? Who is behind the camera? If cinema is as power, as medium, as eye content, it stands to reason that it's matter deeply who controls the means of communication. Cinematography. It is the art of motion picture photography. Second, film or movie. A series or stills image that create illusions of the moving image. Under the film or movie is a film industry, the technological and commercial institution of filmmaking. B. Filmmaking, the process of making a film. Lastly, movie theater, also called a cinema, a building in which films are shown. Types of cinema. First, independent film is one that has been produced without the initial support of a studio or production of commercial cinema. The film industry may be copyright or not, while it is almost independent film ever. Example of that is Night of the Living Dead ng 1968 and She's Gotta Have It ng 1986. Second, animation film is that in which they are used predominant animation techniques. The actual film image recorded real image on the movie, breaking it down into the discrete number of frames per second. Example of that is Animal Farm 1954, The Illusionist 2010. Third one is documental film. It is basing his work on images taken from reality, usually mistaken for documentary reportage, the first being eminent one closely linked to the origins of cinema film genre, and the second a television genre. Example, The Civil War 1990, The Shock of the New 1974. Fourth one is the experimental film. It's one that uses a means of more artistic expression, forgetting the classic visual language, breaking the barriers of narrative cinema, strictly constructed and used the resources to express and suggest emotions, experiences, feelings, using plastic or rhythmic effect linked to image processing or sound. Example of that is Isla 1985, Miracle 1982. The last one is environmental film. This film has not only contacted the man with nature in many cases, but has also been and is still occasionally active militant in the struggle for environmental protection. Example for that is Prophecy 1979, Avatar ng 2000.
The history of cinema or filming. First is The Racehorse. On 1878, many people consider The Racehorse to be the earliest document film in the history. And while it was monumental for the birth of film, it isn't considered the earliest film because it's not in fact a film. It was a series of cabinet cards by the Edward Muybridge to show an example of chronography, an early method of photography to record the passing of time. The first document film wouldn't officially take place until the decade later. Second is the Roundhay Garden scene on 1888. According to the Guinness Book of Records, the oldest surviving film in existence of Roundhay Garden scene, a 2-second clip of people gratefully walking or dancing in a circle. French inventor Louis the Prince staked his claim on some of the earliest film technology, the single-lens camera. As a result, the Prince recorded his 12 frames or second video breakthrough using the single-lens camera and Eastman Kodak's paper base of photographic film. The cinematograph is born on 1895. Inspired by Thomas Edison and William Dixon, picture projector brothers and filmmaker Auguste and Louis Lumiere were determined to find a way to combine film and projector into a solo device. In 1895, their dream became a reality when they created and patented the cinematograph, the world's first motion picture camera. Later than same year, the duo debuted their film Sauter Deus Lumiere de l'Oeil of the Public. In 1932, Life in Color. 3-strip Technicolor was first introduced and commercialized in 1932. 3 years later, Kodachrome was created mainly for the amateur home movie making and slideshow. Fontaine and The Wizard of Oz are the two most distinguished motion pictures movies to utilize the Technicolor technology in the late 1930s. How else we are supposed to know the Dorothy's slippers were sparkly red? 1948, the real-life anchorman, Douglas Edward was America's first regular news anchor, starting at CBS nightly broadcast television news, lately entitled Evening News, from 1948 to 1962. In 1950, the CBS program became available across the U.S. today. Today, news broadcasting networks are planted around the world, and television updated to view nearly every hour of the day. On 1954, color TV goes on sale. The first commercially sold color TV set was first available for purchase in 1954 at $1,295 and found in just 50 New York located stores. Due to its heavy price, the color programming is still relatively unfamiliar concept. None sold. Over the years, the idea granted traction in the 60s. Nearly all higher income household own a set. In 1962, satellite TV is born. On July 23, 1962, AT&T's Telstar satellite dish made its debut with the live trans-click broadcast. The Telstar, a spherical satellite similar in a size and aesthetic to the beach ball, was first privately sponsored space initiative at cost at AT&T's at $3 million to launch via NASA. In 1965, a filmmaking for the masses. The Super 8 camera, an improvement of Eastern Kodak's 8mm film format, became available to spring filmmaker in 1965. Noted for its straightforward, easy-to-use technology. Unlike previously film formats, this particular innovation used cartridge, which eliminated having a pull film through the camera. Interestingly, some of the world's best-known directors, like Steven Spielberg, got their start with the Super 8, which is 15 that is protege of J.J. Abrams, would late go on to direct a movie called Super 8. 26. The rise of the VHS. In 1976, JVC launched the iconic Video Home System, or the VHS, and the Vidstar Video Cassette Record, or VCR, in Japan. With these two innovations, a small 1-inch think tape could be inserted into a video player and watched via television or projector. The following year, the invention came to North America and Consumer Electronic Showcase in Chicago. 1981 to 1983, the camcorded evolution. The camera or recorder or cam record combined video still image into one compact system. In 1982, JVC and Sony revealed the world first the CES. Sony then revealed the first one-piece cam record, the VMC 100, in 1983. This was the first multi-use recorder that also functioned as camera and was portable. The company Betamax camera was also refined these years and resulted in a significant sale. Bottom line, cam records were an 80s phenomenon. 1985, a blockbuster goes big. Up until this point, most video stores were small operations with a limited rental options. But when the first Blockbuster's video store opened In Dallas, Texas, in 1985, consumers could find as many as 8,000 movie rental selections. Eventually, the company was sold the $84 billion to a Viacom. This same year, the videotape cam record exceeded previous sales and started popping up in homes all over the world. What was once at 9,000 store worldwide empire and its peak has whittled down to just one remaining store in Bend, Oregon. On the 1991, MPEG storage is born. The motion picture extract groups created MPGE-1, a small, flat, rectangular dice and still use compressed all-digital files in 1991. For the next 10 years, MPEG improved and allowed increased storage space with a better reliability. Eventually, it became a standard method of the storing digital files for still image and motion pictures formats. On 1992, LCD screen saved eyes. Rather than squinting through a small pieces on the camera, filmmakers and photographers could now look at their content through a large screen. Thanks to Sharp, the first company to create colored LCD screen, a foreshadowing technology of what was come for a future television. On 1993, you can now record hours for a video. Ampex released a breakthrough invention, the first digital video camera called the DCT, which allowed hours of motion recording all one tape. Other technology companies quickly followed suit, competitively creating similar, smaller camera with better picture quality and increased storage. 1995, the Upload It. Sony came out with the mini DVD in 1995, which allowed users to transfer all DCR VX1000 digital files to their computer for editing. As many photographers and videographers can attest today, this invention revolutionized how artists load digital context. 1997, the DVDs and Netflix take over the world. On this year, the goodbye VHS and hello to DVD. The digital versatile disc is a sleek platform that was first used to store high-quality audio, video, photos, and any other digital file format. When it comes to the movie, the DVD made VHS look like a beast. It was smaller, sleeker, and shinier, revolutionized the film industry like the CD did for the music business. This same year, Netflix was founded. The online movie rental outlet allowed the users to pay a monthly fee and watch unlimited TV show and films. 2002, the GoPro Empire. In 2002, philanthropist and entrepreneur Nick Woodman founded GoPro, a company that creates small camera provides to capture personal action. Today, GoPro is worth $1 billion. In 2003, the so-called RIP VHS. The VHS officially died out in 2003, which DVD sales and online rental pushing it to extinction. Best Buy announced to end the VHS sales, and just 5 years later, JVS produced its last standalone VRC. In 2005, the so-called YouTube sensation. founded by the Chad Hawley, Steve Shen, and Joey Karin. This online video forum hosts a seemingly infinite abuse of fragmentless short-length films uploaded by users around the world. In 2006, Google bought YouTube for the $1.67 billion and by the 2013, YouTube hit an outstanding 1 billion monthly unique visitors. Today, multi-channel networks sign on YouTube performers, providing them with a web stage, production of resources, and distribution of station. Some of these channels are acquired by big brands for multi-billion dollars deals. 2006, the so-called Blu-ray booms. Samsung released the first Blu-ray played for the $1,000 in 2006. The format display higher definition graphics and more efficient storage compared to the standard of DVD. What's the old saying? What goes around come around. Well, karma come back around. The Blu-ray did to the DVD what it had done to the VHS. 2010, the so-called RIP Blockbuster. After peeling bankruptcy, Blockbuster was bought by the Dish Network and shut down. Today, close to none of the Blockbuster bricks and mortar remain. In fact, just one store in Bend, Oregon still had its doors open. This same year, the first 3D video cameras were introduced to the public. 2013, the video gets social. With Facebook Live, Snapchat, and the semi-recently created Instagram stories, Internet users in the United States constantly share and watch video on the multiple social media platforms. In fact, it's estimated that Americans now spend an average for 4 hours on social media each day. What next? The next generation of video camera technology is known as 4K Ultra HD, which allows editing options and quality graphics like never seen before. Other than that, who knows where we're headed? But if history is any inclination of how recorded content will continue to progress, the unimaginable is yet to come. Next time you find yourself browsing Facebook videos, recording a special moment of your smartphone, and gorge a CGI uploaded video on BIMFCO, or sitting in the squishy movie theater seat, eating a bucket of popcorn and watching award-winning screenplay through 3G Googles. Take some time to reflect on the amazing history of film. The impressive evolution of technology that made your enjoyment possible. We've come long way since the birth of 1895 cinematography. And there, no doubt, will keep pushing boundaries to go farther still.
And this is the end of our discussion about cinema and video, which is the report number 1. We hope you learned today. And again, this is our team: Almira Cabuslay, Jean Canopin, Joy Canopin, and Winsel Q. Carrasco. Once again, thank you very much for listening.